We're back. Hello and welcome to the first episode of season 3. My name is Leslie Pagel, and this season we're exploring what it really means to live the beat of our drum. In season 3, we're learning from people who aren't following a prescribed path, people who listened closely to their inner voice and choose to move in step with that, even when it means going against the norm. Today, we're starting the season with Krista Sexton. She is the founder of the Acton School of Morgantown in Morgantown, Indiana. Krista is creating an alternative to the traditional education system in America. She is inviting kids to discover their passions, uncover their purpose, and learn how to live their lives in alignment with both. Krista's drumbeat is bold, intentional, and deeply human, and her story reminds us that purpose doesn't always arrive fully formed. Sometimes it reveals itself as we have the courage to act on what we hear. Let's take a listen. All right. I am here at Acton Academy of Morgantown with Krista Sexton talking about living life to the beat of our own drums. Mm-hmm. And I am really looking forward to having our conversation.
Me too. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So season 3 of Purpose Project is all about kind of pushing up against social norms. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious how people might say that you've pushed up against social norms.
Yeah. So starting a micro school is not something I ever thought that I would be doing. It wasn't a childhood dream or anything that I would grow up and start a school. And I think in terms of social norms, it's a lot of us went to public or more traditional school, and the kind of trend towards micro schools and untraditional education has really grown more just really in the last 5 to 10 years. So I think there's still a lot of maybe awareness, people realizing that there are different options out there. Mm-hmm. And just even in terms of us just sharing our story about why would we want something different than a traditional education for our daughter. Yeah, so those are the questions that we get asked when we share that we started a school. So
yes, okay, so you've pushed up against the social norm of traditional education.
Yeah.
And what is the best way of educating our kids?
Yeah.
Tell us about your journey in starting Acton Academy of Morgantown.
Yeah. So I worked for Starbucks for about 15 years. I had moved into a district manager position, and I was in that position for quite a while. And our daughter was in daycare, preschool, and really I had an opportunity with having worked there so long to take what's called a coffee break. It's really sabbatical.
Nice.
Yeah. And I knew we were getting closer to her starting kindergarten. I really wanted some time before she started school. And I will say divinely, my last day was February. I'd given them 6 months notice. You have to tell them far in advance that you're taking this. My last day was the last day of February 2020. And so the last conference call I was on was about this thing called COVID, and we didn't know how serious it was going to turn out to be and things like that. So divinely timed, I was able to stay home with her throughout the next year, and she started kindergarten in 21. But I had an opportunity just to really see how she learned and grew so quickly.
Right.
And we didn't have to spend a ton of time sitting at a desk and things like that. In addition, my husband and I had purchased some rental properties, and so we were learning more about the world of entrepreneurship at the same time. And then I just, through my experience with Starbucks, had seen so many young people that struggled finding their purpose and their passion. but also with mental illness and things like that. And I just really started to question, is what we've been doing really preparing young people for the real world?
Yeah.
And I think that question was nagging at me right at the onset of me choosing to do something different, learning about entrepreneurship. You know, God was lining all of this up in mine and my husband's lives, but as she was getting ready to start traditional school, we started to feel like, isn't there something different? You know, if we learned some of the skills of entrepreneurship when we were younger, what would have changed, or how would things have been different, or would we have found our purpose and calling earlier? Would we have felt more free to explore?
Right.
Actually, before she went into kindergarten, plus all the kind of crazy things happening with COVID at the time, we started doing some research. We looked at a private Christian school that's about 45 minutes from here. That was a pretty far drive for us. And then we went to our local public school and we wound up starting her there. And she had a good experience, but we just felt like it wasn't right for us.
Yeah.
And actually it was in November of her kindergarten year that I learned about, just through scrolling on social media, Acton Academy. They promoted entrepreneurship and creativity and a learner-driven environment, and started going down the scroll rabbit hole. And it just resonated with me, and that, you know, a lot of our families will say the same thing, like, I saw a video and I just couldn't stop watching and I got emotional. And so I actually took this information to my husband, and he said, absolutely not. We're way too busy.
What are you talking about?
Right. Are you crazy? Neither of us have a background in education. And so, you know, I said, you're right. This is crazy. And just left it. I'd sent him some information, and I just started praying about it. And a couple weeks later, he came back to me and said, so I watched the videos you sent me, and there's a couple things I think we need to talk about if we're going to do this. And so that was sort of the confirmation for me, that, oh my gosh, I think we're going to do this.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, are we actually doing this?
Are you sure?
Yeah, yeah. Because I think in my prayers I had said, if we're supposed to do this, like, we're going to both have to be on the same page.
Right.
And so for me, it's just been one confirmation after the next, even through the challenges.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So when I hear your story, I hear a lot of tuning in, and you talked about it didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. And then having the confirmation. It feels a lot like just tuning in and listening for what feels right or what feels wrong.
Yeah, and I think some of my experiences up to that point were opening my eyes to different paths for education. And I've always loved self-development and 100% believe in seeking and searching for answers. And we self-educated on purchasing our rental properties and learning about real estate from that side. So we both had been in a place of learning a little bit more and educating ourselves in entrepreneurship and realizing what was possible just with the resources that we have available to us today. And I think all of those things combined and aligned, that God had them in our path for a reason, and just encouraged us to take that next step.
Yeah.
Anytime you're starting something that you're really excited and passionate about, if it's not someone else's passion and purpose, there is likely always going to be some type of resistance, or their enthusiasm isn't going to meet yours because it isn't their mission.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
So it was what we were being called to, and so there was a lot of questions and just curiosity about why we would choose something different. I think a lot of our families were supportive in terms of our beliefs and going against the grain in terms of traditional education there. But a lot of people opt for homeschool, right? If they want something different than traditional education. So starting a school is a much different route than just choosing to homeschool.
Right.
Yeah.
So it started with your daughter, right?
Yeah.
And it was looking for a place for her, and then it grew to be a place for other kids. How did that shift? How did it broaden?
Yeah, I had homeschooled for a little bit through that year of COVID, and it was pre-K for her, but I did see her grow so quickly. But she's an only child, and so we wanted that social and emotional aspect that comes from having to learn how to interact with other learners. And there's a lot of great options. I know I have a lot of friends that do homeschool, but for us, we wanted that everyday understanding of people aren't always going to be on your same page, and you have to learn the conflict resolution that comes with being around other people every day that are in your circle. And they're not always going to agree 100% with every one of your ideas and be 100% aligned with what you're doing. And so you've got to figure that out. And that's a part of growth. But then there's also the beauty that comes from, and this has been one of the coolest things for me, is seeing the beauty that also comes from the positive peer tribe aspect that we have here, and watching them encourage each other when I'm going to get emotional. Watching them encourage each other when someone's going through a hard challenge, and just the way that they wrap their arms around each other to really lift each other up it's priceless. So we wanted her to have that, but we wanted it to be different than traditional school.
Exactly. So it is very much still about her, but being able to bring other people into the equation for her. And now I imagine it's
so much bigger. Yeah, as you can tell, I get emotional because and I tell their parents all the time, I love each child that we have here like they're my own. One of our philosophies with Acton is that every child is a genius and has an opportunity and a gift that can change the world. And so we're here to really cultivate that and to help them find it. And we believe by doing so, and this also goes back to what I was seeing with young people, is that if they find that gift or passion that really lights them on fire, like they're going to be so unstoppable and they're going to be so excited for life. That is really how you change the world. So it started for her, yes. And it's grown to, I can't imagine us not sharing life with these families and having her group of friends be these children, and that I get to see them and watch them grow and just get to be some small part in their hero's journey, which is amazing.
I appreciate you sharing the focus of Acton Academy, because that is very different than traditional schooling. I don't know for my kids that their school system was all about helping them find and discover their purpose and what lights them up and cultivating that and all of that. I'm curious, as you started your journey, you are pushing up against this belief of what education is. Were there any things that people were saying that were like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that, that might have held you back?
That's a good question. The things that would have held me back were there, people love to share hard stories too. So if they had been in traditional education, things that they had seen or experienced that were really hard, or stories that you hear on the news that make you pause. But I think at the same time, for me, it was such a clear voice and I couldn't let it go,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I felt so many doors were so clearly opened that I knew if I didn't pursue this, and if we just continued down the traditional education path, I would look back and have questions of, I wonder if things would be different, or I wonder what would have happened if. And I didn't want that.
Yeah, yeah. It feels like another example of really tuning in and listening to what you're hearing. I'm just curious how that looks for you. I believe, like you, that every person has an opportunity to make a meaningful difference in this world and to change the world.
Yeah.
And I believe that some people don't pursue it because they're not tuning in.
Yeah.
And so I would love to hear from you. How does tuning in and really listening to what you're hearing look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think for me, at the time, too, that we decided to pursue starting Acton, I had left a career that I had been in for 15 years, and I finally had time to pause.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of it, because I was finally in the middle of the day able to take a walk and be in nature. I share with our learners a lot now how important white space is in your brain. And I truly believe that, even as busy as my days get here, having time, I try and wake up early to pray, meditate, for me, spend time in the Word. Sometimes I'll stay up late, but I have to have some time throughout the day where I'm just quiet. Yeah. And if I go very long without that, I'll start to feel just unaligned, and I know that I'm not giving my best here to our children. And so I think as I took time, probably for the first time in a long time, where I was intentionally having more white space, I was able to hear more clearly. There's so many things vying for our attention today that a lot of times we are able to just keep filling our schedules and keep putting more and more in, and we don't pause to listen. Yeah. And we know intuitively that something's off a lot of times,
right,
or it will show up in extreme fatigue or brain fog, whatever. But I think if we're not intentional about making that space, then we just keep running on E for a long time and aren't pausing to hear that voice.
And it sounds like you've built that into your daily routine of creating a space for you to just pause and be still and silent.
Yeah, I try to. It's not perfect by any means, but I definitely start to feel that when I haven't built that into my day. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to, you did make the decision to do this amazing school. Take us through that decision up until opening the doors.
Yeah. So with Acton, there is a process, an application process of applying and being accepted. And then you go through a training and orientation program that they lead for owners. They also have a requirement that if you're starting a school, your children have to be in the school, which I love. So it became this push to bring what Acton was in my head to life for the children and in the space. So what did I think would spark curiosity, and what did we want to have on the walls, and what would draw them in and just make them curious or excited to show up at school every day. If they are excited to be here, or if they know we're going to be doing something fun, then that the learning is going to happen naturally. Along with that, if they can be excited to get here, we're going to help reel them in and make it fun. the learning will happen.
So in that journey, were there moments of doubt, of hesitation?
Yeah, yes to all of it. Yes to all of it. I have a couple peers, and one in particular, she was a great mentor. But I think really at the beginning, once we had families that had committed that this is where they're going to be,
no turning
you're
back.
in, exactly, yeah. And we desperately wanted it for our daughter too.
Right.
So again, that drive at the beginning helped to push us through some of the very challenging times. But through those kind of ups and downs before we opened, for me there was always still that push of this is the right next step. And I think it was almost that one step at a time.
Okay.
There were challenges financially with the kind of the space we were in. There were some challenges with getting insurance and things like that. Since I didn't have an education background, we had no history
right.
Doing this. And we had to get approval for the business from the town and things like that. Okay. So there were a lot of different steps in the beginning that I had never done before. A lot of those pieces were completely new.
Yeah.
And a lot of prayer and just thinking, okay, if this door closes, then we're not supposed to do this. Maybe that's a sign. And, like I said in the beginning, each door kept opening. Some were at like 11:59 where you're hoping the door would have opened a little sooner, but I felt that call and was willing to just continue to walk through the process as long as those doors continued to be open. And then once we had our families that were committed, I knew, okay, well, we're doing this.
Right.
So
how was day one?
Chaos. Yeah, it was chaos. One of the things we talk about at Acton is because we are a learner-driven environment, sometimes some days look like a perfectly ordered society where, because they set up their governmental process and they agree to contracts for how they are going to interact here in the studio each day and show up and treat each other. And so some days those processes work beautifully, and you would think you are in a system that has been governed for a long time with a certain set of rules. And then some days you walk in and it might feel like Lord of the Flies. So we say as the adults, it's hard to step back and to not impose our will, essentially, on what is happening. And we do try and guide the culture. We're guides. We're not teachers here. So we try and guide. We offer resources, but we also refer them to the process of things in the beginning. The first session that we led, opening the doors, it was interesting to see when do we intervene. That was a hard lesson. And are they really going to realize that they need order and rules?
Yeah.
And so there are parameters in place for safety and things like that, of course. But it really was cool to see that it did not take long for them to start realizing that doesn't feel right when you speak to me unkindly and things like that, or we were supposed to get on at this time, get on our learning program, and so then they start putting things in place, and they really start organizing and working those things out. And so as the adults, then we help facilitate that conversation and offer suggestions around a process. But once they realize that, then they really take ownership of that process, and they're a lot more bought in too. So it definitely felt overwhelming the first couple days, and I didn't grow up in an untraditional education either. So leaning into and trusting the process, it was hard, but so rewarding.
Yeah. So what I hear there is after you decide you're going to do this, to opening up your doors was step by step, one day at a time, one thing at a time. But also, like, some of those things were hard, and those hard things are, for some people, reason to just not keep going. But you just kept going, and you said if the door closes, but it didn't. They just kept opening.
They kept opening, yeah. And I think now, too, looking back, I think your passion for that purpose, and I would say, too, a lot of times people talk about how big is your why, but I also think it is how deeply do you feel the world needs what you are offering, right?
Yeah.
And so I believe 100% that what we're guiding in the space that we're creating for young people to learn in a different way is so needed. And there probably would have been times, even as I say that I could have looked at something as a closed door.
And it wasn't.
And it
I'm
wasn't.
Gonna get through it.
Yeah, exactly. So your perspective on that is important too. So was that a closed door? Maybe, but I'm just going to keep going and see if something changes, or I'm going to try a different route.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So you mentioned purpose and strength of purpose. When this was all happening, did you feel this as this is my purpose? Or does that come later?
I think that has developed later. To me, more in the beginning, it just seemed like something that was needed, that I was passionate about. And I probably would have just said that I was really passionate about this style of learning, and that I felt strongly about this for our daughter, and thought it was a great opportunity for other families and children as well. And the longer, I think each year my resolve grows with it. But it's almost in hindsight. You see more how much of your life, my life, I see, was aligning towards this.
Yeah. So you mentioned your beliefs. Can you share about your beliefs?
I believe God has a plan for us, and He gives us clues to help us discover it.
Okay.
And that's where I think if you are making space and paying attention and seeking His will for your life, that He will reveal it.
Yeah.
And it will become clear. But I don't think it's laid out to just necessarily like one path either. And there may be something 10 years from now, you know, that this was preparing me for. I've had that thought too.
Yes.
So I don't think His work with us is ever done. And I think that's one of the cool things too. And I've even shared with our learners here as we do talk about this, I think the things that get you excited, that light you up, that really set your soul on fire are clues.
Yeah.
And if we're paying attention and pursuing opportunities, doors may close, but I think enough right ones will open to help guide you.
Yeah.
So.
Well, when I hear that and I hear, okay, well, what lights you up, go for it. And then I imagine all of these people saying, you're not going to make any money doing that.
Yeah.
You're not going to, and that's the thing that I feel like is keeping people back.
People. Yeah, I agree with that. We have talked about that here too with entrepreneurship, is what are your passions and how do you monetize it? One of our Acton sayings is fail early, cheaply, and often.
Oh, nice.
And so before you maybe have a mortgage and a ton of financial responsibility, if you can take steps to try lots of things.
Right.
And you don't know, something new might spark this curiosity or grow this love that you didn't know was there, or a passion for a subject matter, or you might get really interested into space if you start digging into it a little bit, and that might lead you down a path that you didn't know you were excited and passionate about. So can you pursue those passions while you're young and live in a manner then that you're able to support living in your passion? As you get older, I do think that can become more challenging, but I still think there are ways, maybe it is changing some lifestyle things so that you can do that. There's so many people making the shift towards living lighter, living on less, so that I can pursue and live in my passion. And, I don't know. I think that's cool.
Yeah, so. I do too. And season 2 of the podcast was all about purpose in the workplace. And I heard some people say, my workplace is a place I go to earn money, but still, there's still an opportunity to find meaning in your work that feels like it's purposeful. It might not be your life's purpose. There's still an opportunity to find meaning in your work, so you're not miserable.
Right, exactly. And maybe looking at how is that preparing you more for your purpose.
Exactly.
I had a conversation with a parent this morning that just had some questions in their new family of ours, and they said, I appreciate how well you speak with parents and how direct you are, but you're able to navigate these conversations really well. And I was just kind of laughing because I was like, well, I had a lot of years of experience of kind of wearing multiple hats when I worked for Starbucks, but that was in turn preparing me for a lot of the work that I do here, dealing with conflict resolution or just helping guide and coach around our philosophy with learning and different things like that, and equipping our young people, but also our parents on that journey as well, because it is different.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're 3 years in?
We just started our 4th year.
Your 4th year.
Yeah, so we have 3 full years under our belt.
Okay. So I would love to compare and contrast to that first year to now. Because there's a part of me that's like, does that passion and purpose stay as magnifying as it is in the beginning? How does it evolve over time?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there were a lot of, I think, challenging moments in the beginning, but also we didn't really know what we didn't know. And so I think that helped us get through the first year a lot. There have been times, I think, just like anyone, where I'm tired, I'm drained, and I will start to question, but at the same time, I know that anytime I take a moment to refuel, as soon as I have even just like a couple days off, I'm then back thinking about like, oh, I think we could add this in, and this would be really fun if we got to do this, and I bet our learners would love if we went here, or watch. Oh my gosh, I found this video that they would love. So those sparks reignite, and I think now with year 4, I'm even more conscious of what leads me to depletion, and being able to step back and also kind of preempt that a little bit.
Yeah.
So things like having a book series that I'm reading help, just even if it's just a couple pages at the end of the night, give me some quiet space in my brain. Again, getting up early, making sure on the weekends I'm not here too long.
Right, yeah.
Too long.
Separation.
Yeah, exactly. But, and making sure that we're still doing fun things as a family, because that was important to us before we started a business. We were having this conversation just the other day. My daughter said, it was really fun doing this as a family. And I said, well, we get to be together a lot. Like most most moms aren't with their child the whole day at school. most dads don't get to come to school and just walk in, but I said, I understand what you mean. It was really fun getting to do this thing as a family. I also don't want us to take for granted the fact that I get to be with you throughout the day. And so making time and space for us to do some fun things as a family is important and rejuvenating. But also, I've learned to just be more conscious about living gratitude with the work that we get to do is just so cool, and I get to be with my daughter every day, and my husband does get to come be a part of a lot of things, and our families that we get to do life with now are incredible humans. I cannot imagine a more cool group community that has developed, and so it's just living in gratitude, I think, really helps shift that mindset from overwhelm or stress, or I have so many things on my to-do list to, and I think it gets at a lot in like sort of personal development. I get to do this.
Right.
But
instead of I have to.
Exactly. Yeah. But it really does just change your perspective too.
So it sounds like that same energy, excitement still exists. It just has shifted a little bit. It's not as much because of the unknown and all of that, but more of the possibility and the being in gratitude for all that you have. Have you had any moments where you've thought maybe this wasn't the thing?
Of course, yeah. I think that's human nature too. You go through hard seasons and there's hard moments financially. After Christmas, during our second year, I started feeling called for us to move from the space that we were in, which was an old church. So it was a really big building, but there wasn't a lot of outdoor space, and the utilities on that property were high, and I was really feeling drawn, especially a couple years in, and just seeing how the children interacted and what things they got excited about. And we, in our community, have a lot of agriculture families, and I wanted them to have more room to run and to play and to climb trees and to dig. They love to dig. So we wanted more room to dig. And so I started feeling called to leave the space that we were in, and that was really hard because I'd poured so much into the walls and what went up and all of the bookshelves and having all of these little spots for creativity, and there was so much of my heart into that first space and time that was really hard, and then I didn't know where we were going to go. So with the real estate market and kind of what I had, what I felt was being laid on my heart was somewhere with some land,
right?
Which is just about like every other person I feel like looking right now. So that was really hard, and I kept thinking. We made the decision. I had told the person we were renting from in January that we were going to leave at the end of May, at the end of school that year. And so I kept thinking, like, okay, God's going to provide something we're going to know before we have to announce it to our families.
Right.
And then a couple months went by and there was nothing. And then spring break came, and with being in a small community, I said, I think we need to tell our families because we're working with a realtor and we're looking at places. I don't want them to find out from someone else. And so we announced it, and I thought, okay, I'm surely now the Lord's going to provide something, and we're just going to find that spot. And the end of school came, and our last day of school, all of our families helped us load a trailer and put all of our stuff in a storage unit, and still had nothing. And so that was at the end of May, and then our school starts the first week of August. And so I just remember crying and thinking, we might be having school in our basement.
Right.
This was not at all what
Right.
I had planned. And I, again, just kept feeling the Lord telling me that he had a place, we were going to have a space, and I just had to keep moving forward. And so it was at the end of June. We actually had another property, and we were getting ready to go to the board of our town with some rezoning opportunities there. And something kind of fell through with that. And so it was the end of June, and the farm that we're in now popped up.
Wow.
And we were able to close in a month, and we had 2 weeks to get everything from the storage unit back in here.
Wow.
But it's been amazing.
Yeah.
So at that point, yes, to answer your question, that was, I was questioning if we were going to have somewhere. Do we keep going?
Right.
And amazingly, again, this community of families just kept saying, okay, just let us know. I was like, who says that? Okay, we don't know where school is, but wherever you wind up, we'll be there. And so that was just, it spoke to me a ton, and was really, I think, again, that support of the tribe for me and my husband to just keep going and to walk that faith journey. And to trust that, what God said he would do.
So where do you feel that in your body?
Mm-hmm.
So you talked about, I felt that we needed a new place. Mm-hmm. It wasn't opening, but you said I needed to trust my faith. Like,
mm-hmm.
where does that happen?
Yeah. I'm gonna get emotional again. In those quiet moments, in the quiet moments of prayer, in the desperate pleas of, you brought us down this path, and we are serving these children, mm-hmm. and I don't want to let them down or their families down, but I know you haven't brought us this far just to walk away.
Right.
Just to leave us homeless. And that continued just even throughout the summer. I think I was up earlier those days than throughout the school year, just on my hands and knees in prayer and in the Word, just seeking God and answers. And it was always the same.
It was.
Just trust that I have a plan. And for me, it was, I just kept hearing like that we would have some land.
Yeah.
Which was interesting because the property that we were pursuing in town did not.
Right.
It was very small.
Yeah.
And so I remember one point my husband looking at me, and he said, before we were supposed to have this town meeting, do you really feel like this is the right spot? And I said, no, but we don't have anything else.
Yeah.
So that was like, my faith was not strong.
Right.
And all these doors were closing. And I didn't know what we were going to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he showed up.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's another example of, I think, where some people don't continue forward.
Yeah.
You know,
mm-hmm.
because, well, one, I don't know that they're always listening. I was listening to a podcast, and they talked about two forms of consciousness. There's
mm-hmm.
our intellect, and then our intuition.
Yes.
And we spend so much time on our intellect, learning, and
mm-hmm.
not as much on just like the intuitive side, mm-hmm. the feeling, the sensing,
And I think that's also cultural.
Yes.
you know?
Oh, yes.
But yeah, and to bring it back to my faith and the fathers of Christianity, so to speak, if you look at the time that they spent as shepherds, or I don't think that's coincidence that there was a lot of, maybe wandering the desert, so to speak, but there's a time of quiet where they're probably spending a lot of time just silent,
right,
listening
right.
To God. And so I think today probably one of the biggest, back to that question, trials with hearing that is just we cram so much in.
Yeah.
And I'm terrible about sleeping with the TV on too, but I will have some moments where it's just quiet and white space.
Yeah. Do you always do what you feel? I mean, always is a strong word, but like the most time, if you're feeling it, are you gonna?
That's a good question, because I think there is a lot also of your feelings can be misleading if you're just living by your emotions.
Yeah.
And so for me, that comes back to, prayer and testing things, I guess, with the word. But I think also, is it just serving me? Or is it serving others? Or is it something just to build myself up?
Yeah.
Or do I think I need this thing,
Yeah, so checking in with the motive behind it.
Right, absolutely. Because, I think too, self-care is good, but then anything can be taken to an extreme level, right? And so, yes, I believe in having that white space and family time and things that refill your cup.
Right.
But that also can't be all the time.
Right, exactly. What advice do you have for people who might have that feeling, but are going up against the grain of social norms?
I think prayer, but also I think again back to who are you serving, and you might be going against the grain because you're opening a door to allow so many people to follow, and you also don't know who is interested. A lot of times the biggest critics can also, become your biggest cheerleaders. And so you kind of have to realize that you're being called, not anyone else. And a lot of times I think there's going to be criticism anyways.
Right. Yeah.
Regardless, a lot of times there's criticism with what you do, whether you go with the grain, there's going to be hard times, whether you go against it. So, what's the purpose that you're being called to? And in the beginning, just felt like I had this question in my mind of, if I look back in 15 years and I didn't go for it, if we didn't walk this path or at least try, am I going to regret it?
So thinking down the road.
Yeah, down the road, and no one else is given your same calling. You have to understand that not everyone is going to be as excited as you, because, all of my friends weren't called to start a school.
Right, exactly.
So it isn't going to make sense to them. They're going to probably have questions, and that's okay. And you kind of just have to keep taking that next step and allow for, the critics will fall away, or they'll see that you're serious and they'll become your biggest supporters.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. What advice can we take from Acton Academy for the adults that might be listening?
I think don't be afraid to play, And what were those things as a child that you got excited about, and, take classes or use YouTube, but have space to just try new things.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I think what we naturally gravitate towards trying is because there is something that we've tried it a little bit before and really enjoyed it, or we remember a time where we used to have a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah.
And I think if you can kind of allow yourself permission to just try different things and play in new areas, those sparks of passion will start to come back, and then give yourself white space and to process and reflect and pray for guidance.
Yeah. Go play.
Yeah, go play. Don't be afraid to play, even as adults. Yeah.
Anything else left unsaid?
I don't think so.
No?
Yeah, just grateful to be here, grateful to have the time with you and the journey.
I appreciate you sharing. I appreciate the work that you're doing, and not letting social norms get in your way.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah.
Yay. As I reflect on this conversation with Krista, there are two things that have really stayed with me. First, Krista talked about following what she describes as a clear voice. And it was through acting on that voice that she discovers her purpose. And second, Krista's journey is a powerful reminder not to get discouraged by what others ask of us, what they expect from us, or what they say about our choices. We each have our own drumbeat. What lights one person up won't light up another, and that's not a flaw, it's the point. So if there's some voice nudging you, if there's something that feels clear to you, even if it doesn't make sense for everyone else, this is your permission to listen. You do you. Krista, thank you so much for being on Purpose Project, and thanks to all of you for tuning in. Purpose Project is brought to you for education and for entertainment purposes. This podcast is not intended to replace the advice that you would receive from a licensed therapist or doctor or any other qualified professional.